She accidentally emails her Christmas wish list to a billionaire, and he brings gifts with love. Imani Clark, 33 years old and exhausted down to her bones, stared at the email her co-worker had just sent with a subject line that made her want to cry. "Secret Santa, submit your Christmas wish list." "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered, slumping in her desk chair at the Charleston Youth Foundation offices. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, the ancient radiator clanked like it was trying to escape, and outside the window, King Street was already strung with Christmas lights, even though Thanksgiving hadn't happened yet. Her co-worker Bryn poked her head over the cubicle wall. "Did you get the Secret Santa email? $20 limit. Come on, it'll be fun." "Fun? Right." Imani forced a smile. "Yeah, I got it." "You okay? You look like someone just told you Christmas is cancelled." "I'm fine, just tired." The lie came easily. Imani had gotten good at lying about being fine about working at a non-profit that paid barely enough to cover rent, fine about spending another Christmas alone, fine about the fact that her mother had been gone for 4 years and the holidays still felt like walking through broken glass. Family, welcome back to Tales That Touch, where we bring you emotional stories of love, because in truth, love and death cannot be escaped. No one can say when, how, or where. It's never too early or too late. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification button right now so you don't miss what happens next. And if you're one of our returning viewers, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Now, stay with us to the end of this story. Leave a comment with your thoughts and like this video. Let's continue. Bryn disappeared back to her desk, and Imani turned to her computer. $20 limit. She could do that. Something simple, practical. A scented candle maybe, or a coffee mug with some inspirational quote she'd read once and never think about again. But then her fingers started moving, and the words that appeared on the screen weren't about candles or mugs at all. Imani's Christmas wish list. 1. To feel less alone during the holidays. She stared at what she'd typed, deleted it, typed it again, left it. 2. Someone to watch cheesy Christmas movies with while drinking hot chocolate that's too sweet. 3. To not worry about bills for 1 month. Just 1 month where I don't calculate if I can afford both groceries and heat. 4. To laugh. Really laugh. The kind where your stomach hurts and you can't breathe. 5. To dance in the kitchen while making dinner like Ma and I used to do. 6. For someone to look at me and see me, not the strong woman who has it together, not the girl who survived losing her mother and a divorce. Just me. 7. To believe in magic again, even if it's just for a little while. Imani's vision blurred. She blinked hard, pressed her palms against her eyes. This was ridiculous. This wasn't a wish list for Secret Santa. This was therapy she couldn't afford to pay for. She should delete it, start over, write something normal. Instead, she clicked the email her co-worker had sent, the one with everyone's addresses copied in the field for the Secret Santa coordination, hit reply all, attached her pathetic excuse for a wish list, and pressed send before she could change her mind. Her inbox immediately pinged. Message delivery failed. User Swestbrook at westbrookventures.com not found in directory. Imani's stomach dropped. She pulled up her sent folder, clicked on the email she'd just sent, and felt her heart stop. The to field didn't say secresanta at charlestonyouth.org. It said Swestbrook at westbrookventures.com. No. She frantically checked her recent emails. There it was, an email from last week when she'd reached out to potential donors. Stellan Westbrook, Westbrook Ventures, one of the wealthiest venture capitalists in the country, and she'd just sent him her deeply personal, embarrassingly vulnerable Christmas wish list. She grabbed her phone, fingers shaking so badly she could barely unlock it. Maybe she could recall the email. Maybe it hadn't gone through yet. Maybe... Her computer pinged again. New email. From Swestbrook at westbrookventures.com. Subject: Secret Santa, submit your Christmas wish list. Imani's finger hovered over the delete button. She should delete it, pretend this never happened, bury her computer in the Ashley River, and start a new life in another state where no one knew about her humiliation. Instead, she clicked. 10 blocks away, in a penthouse overlooking Charleston Harbor, Stellan Westbrook read the email for the third time. He was 36 years old, worth north of $2 billion, and he couldn't remember the last time anything had surprised him. Life had a way of becoming predictable when you could buy anything you wanted, when every door opened because of your name, when people smiled at you because of your bank account, not because they actually liked you. But this email, this accidental, vulnerable, heartbreaking email from someone named Imani Clark. Stellan leaned back in his leather chair, eyes scanning the list again. To feel less alone during the holidays. To not worry about bills for 1 month. For someone to look at me and see me. He knew that feeling. God, did he know that feeling? 5 years since Sarah died, his fiancée, the woman he'd planned to marry, gone in an instant because some drunk driver ran a red light, and Stellan still felt like he was walking through life behind glass. Present but not really there, alive but not really living. Everyone looked at him and saw Stellan Westbrook, billionaire, tech genius, the man who'd sold his company for an obscene amount of money and now spent his days investing in other people's dreams because he didn't have any of his own left. No one saw him, just like no one apparently saw Imani Clark. His phone buzzed. His assistant, no doubt, with another meeting request he didn't care about. Another charity gala where people would smile at his checkbook. Another evening alone in this too-big penthouse with nothing but memories and regrets for company. Stellan looked at the email again. At this woman who'd accidentally sent her deepest wishes to a stranger, who wanted to watch cheesy Christmas movies and dance in her kitchen and believe in magic again. He could ignore this, delete it, pretend he never saw it. That would be the normal thing to do. But Stellan was tired of normal, tired of lonely, tired of going through the motions of a life that looked perfect on paper but felt empty in practice. He opened a new email, fingers flying across the keyboard. Imani's hands trembled as she read Stellan Westbrook's response. "Miss Clark, I believe you meant to send this to someone else, but I'm glad you didn't. Or maybe I should say I'm sorry you didn't, because this is clearly personal and I'm an intrusive stranger who just read your private thoughts. I should probably just delete this and pretend I never saw it, but I can't. Because your list is the most honest thing I've read in 5 years, and I think the world needs more people who still want to dance in their kitchens and believe in magic. I'm going to overstep every professional boundary here and say this. I hope all your wishes come true. Not because someone buys you things, but because you deserve to feel seen and less alone, and to laugh until your stomach hurts. If you're worried I'll use this against you somehow or think less of you professionally, please don't. I think more of you for having the courage to write it down in the first place. SW. Imani read it twice, 3 times. Tried to figure out if this was real or some elaborate prank or if maybe she'd fallen asleep at her desk and was dreaming. Stellan Westbrook, the Stellan Westbrook, had just responded to her humiliating email with kindness instead of mockery, with understanding instead of pity. She should leave it alone, thank him politely and never mention it again. Move on with her life and try to forget this ever happened. Her fingers started typing before her brain could stop them. Mr. Westbrook, I don't even know what to say except I'm mortified and also weirdly relieved. You're right. That email was meant for my co-worker for our office Secret Santa, and instead I just exposed my entire emotional state to someone I was trying to impress into donating to our youth foundation. So that's embarrassing. But thank you for not making me feel worse about it, and for being kind. That's rarer than it should be. Also, just so you know, I really do believe in magic. I just forgot for a while, but I think maybe it's still there somewhere. Imani Clark. She hit send before she could overthink it, then immediately regretted every word. Too casual, too personal, too... Her email pinged. Imani, you weren't trying to impress me into donating. Your grant proposal was compelling on its own merits. The answer is yes, by the way. My foundation will fund your literacy program. You'll get the paperwork next week. And I'm glad you still believe in magic. Hold on to that. The world will try to take it from you, but don't let it. This might be inappropriate, but I'm going to be in your neighborhood tomorrow for a meeting. If you're free for coffee, I'd like to properly introduce myself, not as a donor, just as someone who appreciated your list more than you know. Stellan, we're apparently on a first-name basis now. Hope that's okay. Imani stared at her screen. Stellan Westbrook, billionaire, venture capitalist, probably the busiest man in Charleston, wanted to get coffee with her, not for business, just because. This was insane. She was going to say no, obviously, because this whole situation was bizarre and inappropriate, and her fingers typed yes before her brain could intervene. Tomorrow works. There's a coffee shop called Harbinger on King Street. 10 a.m.? His response came immediately. Perfect. See you then. P.S. I make a mean hot chocolate. Way too sweet. Just so you know. Imani's breath caught. She read that last line again, felt something flutter in her chest that she refused to name. Hey, Imani, Bryn called from the next cubicle. Did you submit your Secret Santa list? Yeah, Imani said, eyes still on her computer screen, on Stellan Westbrook's email that felt like the beginning of something impossible. I submitted it. The day before, everything changed. Stellan Westbrook stood in front of his closet at 6 a.m., trying to decide what a billionaire wore to have coffee with someone who didn't know he was trying to make her wishes come true. Not a suit. Too formal. Too, I'm interviewing you for a job. Not his running gear. Too casual. Too, I don't care about this. He settled on dark jeans and a charcoal sweater, looked at himself in the mirror, and wondered when his life had become so calculated. Every outfit chosen for effect, every word measured for impact, every interaction filtered through the lens of wealth and expectation. Imani Clark's email hadn't been calculated. It had been raw and real and achingly honest. And Stellan couldn't remember the last time someone had been honest with him about anything that mattered. His phone buzzed with a text from his assistant. Board meeting at 11, lunch with Singapore investors at 1, gala planning committee at 4. Stellan looked at the schedule, looked at the email from Imani still open on his laptop, and made a decision that probably qualified as crazy. He was going to grant her wishes, all of them. Not because he could afford it, though obviously he could, but because she'd reminded him what it felt like to want something beyond money. To hope for connection instead of transaction, to believe in magic. And maybe, if he was being honest with himself, because making her happy might be the first thing in 5 years that made him feel alive again. His phone rang. Pierce Matthews, his best friend and lawyer. Tell me you're not about to do something stupid, Pierce said without preamble. Good morning to you too. Stellan, I know that tone. That's your, I'm about to make an impulsive decision tone. What's going on? I'm having coffee with someone tomorrow. That's not stupid. Who? A woman. Her name is Imani Clark. She works for a non-profit. Silence. Then, you're interested in someone? Actually interested? Since when? Since she accidentally sent me the most honest email I've read in years and reminded me that I'm 36, not dead, and maybe I should stop using Sarah's death as an excuse to not actually live. More silence. Then Pierce's voice quieter. Okay, that's not stupid. That's actually healthy. I'm proud of you. Don't be proud yet. I haven't even met her in person. But you want to. That's progress, man. After 5 years of... Pierce stopped. Sorry, I'm not trying to... I know. And you're right. It's time. Stellan looked out at Charleston Harbor, at the sun just starting to rise over the water. It's time to stop being the guy who lost everything and start being the guy who chooses to find something new. Is she pretty? I haven't seen her picture. Just her words. Even better. Means you like her for her brain, not her face. I like her honesty, and her hope, and the fact that she wants to dance in her kitchen and believe in magic. Stellan paused. I want those things too, Pierce. I just forgot. Then go get coffee with your honest, hopeful woman. And Stellan, don't screw this up by being too rich too fast. Let her get to know you first, not your bank account. Good advice. Stellan hung up, looked at his reflection one more time, and decided that tomorrow he'd just be Stellan, not Stellan Westbrook, billionaire. Just a guy meeting a woman for coffee who happened to think her wish list was worth reading. The 20th of November 2024, 9:47 a.m. Imani changed her outfit 3 times, hated all 3 choices, and finally settled on dark jeans, a cream sweater, and her mother's silver necklace. The one Ma had worn every day until the cancer made her too weak to clasp it. For confidence, Ma used to say, this necklace has magic in it. Imani touched it now, standing outside Harbinger Coffee on King Street, trying to convince herself this was a normal coffee meeting and not potentially the weirdest thing she'd done in years. Through the window, she could see the interior exposed brick walls, Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling, mismatched furniture that looked deliberately vintage, cozy, intimate, the kind of place where people had real conversations instead of network meetings. Her phone buzzed. From Stellan, I'm inside. Corner table by the fireplace. I'm the nervous guy checking his watch every 30 seconds. Imani's breath caught. He was nervous. Stellan Westbrook, billionaire, was nervous about meeting her. She pushed open the door, and the scent of coffee and cinnamon washed over her. Christmas music played softly. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace. And in the corner, by the window, a man stood up from his table. Tall, maybe 6'2", dark blonde hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it too many times. Grey sweater that probably cost more than her rent, but looked effortlessly comfortable. And eyes, warm hazel eyes that found hers across the coffee shop and held. Stellan Westbrook was 36 years old and absolutely, devastatingly handsome in a way that made Imani's stomach flip. But it was his smile that undid her. Nervous and genuine and a little bit uncertain, like he wasn't sure if she'd actually show up. Imani crossed the coffee shop, every step feeling significant, and when she reached his table, he extended his hand. Imani Clark? That's me. She shook his hand, firm grip, warm palm, and felt electricity spark up her arm. You're Stellan Westbrook. Just Stellan. He gestured to the chair across from him. Please, sit. I took the liberty of ordering you a latte, but if you don't like lattes, I can get you something else. I should have asked first. That was presumptuous. He was rambling. Stellan Westbrook, billionaire venture capitalist, was rambling like a nervous college kid on a first date. Imani sat down, picked up the latte he'd ordered, took a sip. It's perfect. Thank you. Good. That's good. Stellan sat across from her, ran a hand through his hair again. I'm not usually this awkward, I promise. I actually convinced a room full of investors to give me $50 million once. I can be articulate when necessary. But not today. Not today. His hazel eyes met hers, and Imani saw something there that looked like honesty, like vulnerability. Because you're not an investor, and I'm not trying to impress you with projections and market analysis. I'm just trying to not sound like an idiot in front of the woman who wrote the most beautiful Christmas wish list I've ever read. Imani's cheeks heated. It wasn't beautiful. It was desperate. It was honest, and that's rarer. Stellan leaned forward slightly. Can I tell you something? About why I responded to your email instead of just deleting it like a normal person? Please. 5 years ago, I lost my fiancée. Car accident. She was 29. We were supposed to get married that summer. His voice didn't waver, but Imani saw his jaw tighten. Since then, I've been going through the motions, building wealth I don't need, attending events I don't care about, existing but not really living, and then your email showed up, and it was like reading my own thoughts written by someone else. I'm so sorry about your fiancée. Her name was Sarah, and thank you. Stellan wrapped his hands around his coffee mug. But my point is, your wish list, those things you want. I want them too, to feel less alone, to laugh, to believe in magic again. And I thought maybe, he stopped, looked at her directly, maybe we could help each other remember what those things feel like. Imani's heart hammered. This wasn't a business meeting. This wasn't networking. This was a man wealthy beyond imagination, but lonely in all the ways that mattered, asking if maybe they could be less lonely together. I don't even know you, she said quietly. I know, but you know the important part, the honest part, the part that wants to dance in the kitchen and watch cheesy Christmas movies. He smiled, and it transformed his face from handsome to beautiful. And I make really good hot chocolate, way too sweet. Remember? Imani remembered, felt something warm bloom in her chest. You mentioned that in your email, because item number 2 on your list said you wanted someone to watch Christmas movies with while drinking hot chocolate that's too sweet, and I thought... Stellan paused, looked almost shy. I thought maybe I could be that someone, if you wanted. You want to watch Christmas movies with me? I want to know you, the real you, the woman who still believes in magic even when life gives her every reason not to. He leaned back slightly, giving her space. No expectations, no pressure. Just two people who are tired of being alone during the holidays, trying to be a little less alone together. Imani should say no, should protect herself, should remember that she'd been hurt before and healed wrong, and promised herself she wouldn't risk her heart again so easily. But Stellan Westbrook was looking at her like she mattered, like her wishes were worth granting, like maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone in wanting something real. Okay, she heard herself say, let's watch Christmas movies and drink too, sweet, hot chocolate. Yeah? Yeah. Imani smiled, felt something inside her chest crack open for the first time in years. But I should warn you, I cry during love actually every single time, even though I know exactly what's going to happen. I ugly cry during the airport scene in The Holiday, Stellan admitted. Like, full-on ugly cry. It's embarrassing. We're going to be a mess. The best kind of mess. He pulled out his phone. What's your number? And also, are you free Saturday night? Because I make a mean hot chocolate, and I know every cheesy Christmas movie on every streaming service. Imani gave him her number, her heart racing, and wondered if this was what magic felt like. If magic was a billionaire who responded to your accidental email with kindness, who wanted to watch Christmas movies and be less lonely together, who looked at you like you were interesting instead of broken. Saturday works, she said. Perfect. Stellan stood when she did, and they walked toward the door together. On King Street, Christmas lights twinkled in the late morning. Sunday shoppers bustled past carrying bags. Somewhere, church bells chimed. Imani? Stellan said as they stood on the sidewalk, the moment stretching between them. Yeah? Thank you for accidentally sending me that email, for being honest, for saying yes to this. He smiled, and it reached his eyes. I think you might have just saved Christmas for both of us. Imani watched him walk away, tall and handsome and impossibly kind, and touched her mother's necklace. For confidence, this necklace has magic in it. Maybe Ma was right. Maybe there was magic. Maybe it looked like accidental emails and billionaires who wanted to watch Christmas movies. Maybe it looked like hope when you'd forgotten how to hope. Maybe it looked like Stellan Westbrook turning back one more time to wave before disappearing around the corner, his smile the brightest thing on King Street. Imani waved back, and for the first time in 4 years, Christmas didn't feel like broken glass. It felt like a possibility. 2 days until their movie night. Imani stared at her phone for the 15th time that morning, reading Stellan's text from the night before. Stellan, still thinking about our coffee. You made me laugh 3 times. That's a record for this year. Thank you. Imani, only 3? I need to up my game. Stellan, Saturday. Hot chocolate. Bad movies. I'm counting down. She was counting down too. That was the problem. Imani Rose Clark, 33 years old and supposedly too smart to fall for someone after one coffee date, was counting down the hours until she saw him again. You're smiling at your phone, Bryn said, appearing at Imani's cubicle with 2 cups of terrible office coffee. That's new. What happened? Nothing. Just a funny text. From who? Bryn set down the coffee, crossed her arms. Imani, you've worked here 2 years. I've never seen you smile at your phone. Not once. So who is he? How do you know it's a he? Because you're blushing, and you never blush. Bryn leaned against the cubicle wall. Come on, tell me. I need something good. Derek from accounting just asked me if I wanted to optimize my lunch break efficiency with him. I need a win. Imani laughed, really laughed, and realized it was the 4th time she'd laughed since meeting Stellan yesterday. Okay, but this stays between us. Obviously. I met someone, for coffee, yesterday, and it was... Imani searched for the right word. Good, really good. Details. Now, name, age, job, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how handsome. His name is Stellan. He's 36. He's in venture capital, and he's... Imani pulled up the only photo she'd found online, from some tech conference 3 years ago. Stellan in a suit, looking serious and gorgeous and completely out of her league. See for yourself. Bryn grabbed the phone, eyes widening. Holy Mother of Imani, that's Stellan Westbrook, the Stellan Westbrook, Westbrook Ventures. The guy's worth like $2 billion. Imani's stomach dropped. What? You didn't know? Bryn scrolled frantically. Girl, he's like Charleston's most eligible bachelor. Tech genius. Sold his company for an insane amount. There were articles about him in Forbes. How did you meet a billionaire and not know he was a billionaire? He didn't. Imani's mind raced back to coffee yesterday. Stellan in jeans and a sweater. Nervous. Honest. He'd said his name like it didn't matter. Like he was just a regular guy wanting to watch Christmas movies. He didn't tell me. Of course he didn't. Men like that never do. They want to know if you like them for them, not their money. Bryn handed back the phone. But Imani, this is huge. Stellan Westbrook asked you out? Not out. Just coffee. And then, she hesitated. He's coming over Saturday to watch Christmas movies. He's coming to your apartment. Stellan Westbrook is coming to your apartment. Bryn's voice had gone up an octave. The man who probably has a penthouse with actual art and a view of the harbor is willingly visiting your walk-up with the radiator that sounds like it's dying. He doesn't know where I live yet. I was going to suggest my place, but... Imani looked at her phone again, at Stellan's texts that felt genuine and kind and nothing like someone worth billions. Should I tell him I know, that I looked him up? No. Let him tell you when he's ready. But Imani? Bryn's expression softened. Be careful. Guys with that much money, sometimes they're looking for something different. An experience. A story. Just protect yourself, okay? He's not like that. You met him yesterday. I know, but... Imani touched her mother's necklace. I don't think he's playing games. I think he's just lonely. Like me. Billionaires don't get lonely. They buy companionship. That's not fair. You don't know him. And you do? Bryn's voice wasn't unkind, just concerned. I'm not trying to rain on your parade. I'm just saying be careful. Men like that, they live in a different world. And when they're done visiting yours, you're the one left behind. Stellan's penthouse. Same morning. You're not telling her you're a billionaire, Pierce said, pacing in front of Stellan's floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Charleston Harbor. That's your strategy? Hide your wealth and hope she doesn't Google you. I'm not hiding it. I'm just not leading with it. Stellan looked up from his laptop where he'd been researching Christmas movies and the best hot chocolate recipes. She knows my name. If she wants to look me up, she can. And when she does? When she realizes you've been downplaying the fact that you're worth more than most people see in 100 lifetimes, then we'll talk about it. But Pierce, you didn't see her. She wrote this beautiful, honest wish list about wanting to feel less alone and dance in her kitchen. Those aren't things money can buy. And I don't want her looking at me like a bank account. I want... Stellan stopped, ran a hand through his hair. I want her to see me. Just me. Not the money. Pierce sat down across from him. That's noble. It's also naive. She will find out. Probably before Saturday. And when she does, she's going to wonder what else you're hiding. I'm not hiding anything that matters. You're hiding everything that defines you in the eyes of most people. Then maybe most people are looking at the wrong things. Stellan closed his laptop. Sarah knew me before I had money, before I sold the company. She loved me when I was just a guy with an idea and a dream and nothing else. And I loved her for seeing something in me beyond what I could provide. But she's gone. And I'm never going to have that again, someone who knew me before I became this. He gestured at the penthouse, the view, the evidence of wealth surrounding them. So I'm taking what I can get. A few days, maybe a week, where someone looks at me and just sees Stellan. Not Stellan Westbrook billionaire, just Stellan who likes Christmas movies and wants to be less lonely. Pierce was quiet for a long moment. And then what? Then I tell her the truth. All of it. And hope she doesn't hate me for the omission. She might. I know. Stellan picked up his phone, looked at Imani's last text, the one where she'd said she was counting down until Saturday too. But this what we're starting to have, it feels real. It feels honest. And I haven't had honest in 5 years, so I'm going to hold on to it for as long as I can. One day until their movie night. Imani's phone rang at 2 p.m. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Clark, this is Jennifer from Charleston Electric. I'm calling about your account. Imani's stomach sank. She'd been late on her electric bill last month. And this month, I'm working on the payment. I just need... Actually, Mum, I'm calling because your account has been paid in full, and there's been a credit applied for the next 6 months. Your balance is 0. Imani sat down hard in her desk chair. What? I don't understand. It says here an anonymous donor made a payment on your behalf. 6 months of estimated bills, paid in advance. Who would do that? The donor requested anonymity, but your account is current and credited. You won't receive a bill until June 2025. Imani hung up, hands shaking. 6 months of electric bills, paid, anonymous. Her phone buzzed with a text. Stellan, random question. What's your favorite kind of Christmas cookie? I'm attempting to bake and need inspiration. She stared at the text, then at the note she'd scribbled on her desk from the electric company call. 6 months. Item number 3 on her wish list, to not worry about bills for 1 month. Stellan had given her 6. No, that was crazy. He couldn't have. He didn't even know her address or her account number or... Another text. Stellan, full disclosure, I'm a terrible baker. This might be a disaster, but I'm trying. That counts for something, right? Imani's fingers hovered over her keyboard. She should ask, should confront him, should demand to know if he'd somehow found her electric account and paid her bills like some kind of fairy godfather. Instead, she typed, Snickerdoodles, with extra cinnamon, and yes, trying counts for everything. Stellan, Snickerdoodles it is. Fair warning, they might be burnt, or raw, or somehow both. Imani, as long as they're made with good intentions, they'll be perfect. Stellan, you're giving me way too much credit, but I'll take it. See you tomorrow, Imani. Can't wait. She read that last line 3 times. Can't wait. Like he was actually excited. Like this mattered to him as much as it mattered to her. Bryn appeared at her cubicle. Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Someone paid my electric bill. What? 6 months, paid in advance. Anonymous donor. Imani looked up. It's him, it has to be. Stellan. How would he even... Bryn stopped. Oh, billionaire with resources. Right. He probably has people who can find out anything. That's creepy. Or romantic. Depends on your perspective. Bryn sat on the edge of Imani's desk. What are you going to do? I don't know. Confront him, thank him, pretend I don't know. What does your gut say? Imani touched her mother's necklace. Ma always said, trust your gut. Your head will lie to you, but your gut knows the truth. Her gut said Stellan had read her wish list, her real, vulnerable wish list, and was trying to make her wishes come true. Not because he wanted something in return, but because he could. Because it mattered to him that she was struggling. Because maybe, just maybe, he cared. My gut says he's not trying to buy me, Imani said quietly. He's trying to take care of me. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah, buying me would be flashy, public. Look what I can afford. This is, she gestured at her phone. This is private, anonymous. He didn't want credit. He just wanted to help. So you're okay with it? I don't know, but I'm not going to ruin tomorrow by being suspicious. If he wants to pay my electric bill, fine. I'll find a way to pay him back. Or pay it forward. Or something. Imani smiled despite herself. And Bryn, he's baking me cookies. Terrible cookies that will probably be burnt. But he's trying. You're falling for him. I barely know him. That's not what I asked. Imani looked at her phone again, at Stellan's texts that made her smile and hope and believe that maybe, just maybe, magic was real. Yeah, she admitted, I'm falling. God help me, I'm falling. 13 minutes before Stellan was supposed to arrive. Imani's apartment was tiny. A walk up on a quiet street off King. 1 bedroom, kitchen the size of a closet, living room barely big enough for her thrift store couch and hand-me-down TV. The radiator clanked. The walls were thin. You could hear Mrs. Chen upstairs playing her morning piano scales and the couple next door arguing about whose turn it was to do dishes. It was small and cheap and absolutely not where you brought a billionaire for a first date. But Stellan had insisted. Your place, he'd said in a text that morning. I want to see where you dance in the kitchen. Now Imani stood in that too-small kitchen, wearing jeans and an oversized sweater, hair in natural curls because she'd given up trying to make it do anything else, and wondered if this was the worst idea she'd ever had. The buzzer rang. Imani pressed the intercom. Hello? It's Stellan. I come bearing hot chocolate ingredients, and possibly the worst cookies ever baked by human hands. Fair warning. She buzzed him up, heard his footsteps on the stairs, third floor, no elevator, and opened her door just as he reached her landing. Stellan Westbrook stood in her hallway, slightly out of breath, holding a grocery bag in one hand and a container of cookies in the other. He wore dark jeans, a navy blue sweater, and a smile that made Imani's heart stop. "Hi," he said. "Hi. I made it. 3 flights. I'm only slightly dying. You're 36, not ancient. 3 flights shouldn't kill you." "Tell that to my legs." Stellan stepped inside when she gestured, looking around her apartment with genuine interest, not judgment. "Just curiosity. This is great, cozy, warm. I love it." "You're lying." "I'm not. It's—" He set down the grocery bag and cookies on her tiny kitchen counter. "It's real. It feels lived in, like a home. My place is all chrome and glass and empty space. This feels like someone actually lives here, someone who has books." He gestured at her overflowing bookshelf. "And photos." He nodded at the pictures on her wall. "And personality. I love it." Imani's defenses cracked a little. "You're sure you're not just being polite?" "Imani, I'm a billionaire. I don't have to be polite about anything." He paused. "Wait. You know. I Googled you. Yesterday, after my co-worker recognized your picture, and you're still letting me into your apartment. Should I not be? I don't know. Some people, when they find out about the money they change, they start seeing dollar signs instead of a person." Stellan met her eyes. "Are you going to change? Are you still the guy who wrote me that kind email, who wanted to watch Christmas movies and be less lonely together? Yeah? Then no, I'm not going to change." Imani moved closer. "But I do have a question." "Shoot. Did you pay my electric bill?" Stellan's expression didn't change. "Would you be mad if I did?" "I don't know. That's why I'm asking." "Yes, I paid your electric bill, 6 months' worth. And before you get angry or offended or tell me you don't need my charity," he held up a hand, "item number 3 on your list said you wanted 1 month of not worrying about bills, and I thought 6 months would be better, because then maybe you could save a little, or breathe a little, or just not wake up at 3 in the morning calculating if you can afford both heat and groceries. How did you even find my account? I have resources. I used them. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat because, Imani, you're working at a non-profit making barely enough to live on while trying to help kids get access to literacy programs. You're doing good work that matters, and you're struggling because of it. So yeah, I paid your bills, and I'm not sorry. I'm going to pay you back." "No, you're not." "Stellan." "Imani." He stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne, something woodsy and warm. "I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't make me less lonely. It doesn't do anything except sit in bank accounts accumulating interest I don't need. But making your life a little easier, giving you one less thing to worry about, that makes me happy. So please, let me have this. Let me help." "Why?" "Because your wish list mattered. Because you matter. And because for the first time in 5 years, I feel like I'm doing something that actually means something." He smiled, soft and genuine. "Plus, I'm trying to make all your wishes come true. It's kind of my thing now." Imani's breath caught. "You're granting my wishes, like a fairy godfather. More like a guy with too much money and a sudden desire to see you smile." Stellan gestured to the cookies. "Speaking of which, I made snickerdoodles. They're terrible, but they're made with good intentions and an excessive amount of cinnamon." Imani opened the container, looked at the misshapen, slightly burnt cookies that clearly came from someone who had no idea what they were doing in a kitchen. "They were perfect. They're beautiful," she said, and meant it. "They're disasters. They're made with love." Stellan's expression softened. "Yeah, they are." They stood in her tiny kitchen, close enough to touch but not quite touching, and Imani felt something shift, something significant, like standing on the edge of something vast and terrifying and wonderful all at once. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for the electric bill, for the cookies, for—" she gestured between them, "for this, whatever this is. This is 2 lonely people trying to remember what it feels like to not be lonely." Stellan reached out, brushed a curl behind her ear, and the gentleness of it made Imani's heart ache. And it's working. Because I'm with you, and I don't feel lonely anymore. Me neither. Good. He stepped back, giving her space. So, hot chocolate? Christmas movies? I brought 3 kinds of chocolate, whole milk, whipped cream, and those tiny marshmallows because they're superior to regular-sized ones. Fight me. Tiny marshmallows are objectively better. That's just science. I knew I liked you for a reason. They moved into her kitchen barely big enough for 1 person, cramped with 2, and made hot chocolate together. Stellan heated milk, while Imani chopped chocolate. They bumped hips and elbows and laughed when he almost dropped the whisk. He added too much sugar. She added more chocolate. They taste-tested, adjusted, taste-tested again. Too sweet, Imani declared. Perfect, Stellan countered. That's exactly what you asked for. Someone to drink hot chocolate that's too sweet. I did, didn't I? She took another sip. Okay, it's perfect. They settled on her small couch closer than necessary because the couch wasn't really built for 2 people with mugs of too sweet hot chocolate and terrible snickerdoodles and a Netflix queue full of cheesy Christmas movies. What are we watching first? Stellan asked. The holiday, obviously. I need to see you ugly. Cry during the airport scene. You're cruel. I'm prepared. I brought tissues. They started the movie, and within 10 minutes, Imani had curled into Stellan's side like it was the most natural thing in the world. He draped an arm across the back of the couch, and she fit perfectly under it. This okay? He asked quietly. Yeah, this is perfect. They watched Kate Winslet discover her dream cottage, watched Cameron Diaz flee Los Angeles, watched 2 women swap houses and lives and find love where they least expected it. Do you believe in fate? Imani asked during a quiet scene. I didn't. Before your email, I thought life was just random chaos. Things happened or they didn't, and there wasn't any meaning to it. Stellan's thumb traced small circles on her shoulder. But you accidentally sent me that wish list. Out of everyone in Charleston, out of every possible person that email could have gone to, it came to me. Someone who needed to read it just as much as you needed to write it. So yeah, maybe I believe in fate now. My mom used to say that the universe has a plan, that even when terrible things happen, there's a reason, a purpose. Imani touched her necklace. She died 4 years ago from cancer, and I couldn't find the purpose in that. Couldn't understand why the universe would take the kindest woman I knew and leave me alone. I'm so sorry, Imani. But then I met you, and I think... She paused, trying to find the words. I think maybe the purpose wasn't in losing her. It was in learning to find joy again after loss. Learning that you can survive impossible grief and still believe in magic. And maybe she's up there somewhere, orchestrating this whole thing, making sure her daughter doesn't spend Christmas alone. Stellan pulled her closer. I think your mom would be proud of you, for surviving, for still hoping, for believing in magic even when the world gave you every reason not to. What about you? What would Sarah think about this? She'd tell me I was an idiot for waiting 5 years to start living again. Stellan's voice was soft but certain. Sarah loved life, loved joy, loved finding magic in ordinary moments. And she'd hate that I spent 5 years existing instead of living. So I think, he looked down at Imani, I think she'd like you. She'd like that you made me remember what it feels like to want something beyond money and success and comfort. She'd like that you're brave enough to write down your wishes and send them to strangers. She'd like your honesty. I wish I could have met her. Me too. They watched the rest of the movie in comfortable silence, passing the hot chocolate back and forth, eating terrible cookies that somehow tasted perfect, existing in a bubble where the outside world didn't matter. When the airport scene came, when Jack Black's character realizes he's in love, Stellan's eyes actually welled up. You're crying, Imani whispered. I warned you. I told you I ugly, cry. It's beautiful. It's embarrassing. It's human. She wiped a tear from his cheek. It's honest. That's rarer than you know. Stellan caught her hand, held it against his face. Imani Clark, you are the most honest person I've met in 5 years, and I'm terrified I'm going to screw this up somehow. You won't. You don't know that. I know you made me terrible cookies because I mentioned snickerdoodles once. I know you paid my electric bill because you wanted me to breathe easier. I know you're here in my tiny apartment, watching cheesy Christmas movies instead of at some fancy gala with people who probably matter more. She shifted to face him fully. "You're not going to screw this up, Stellan, because you're trying, and that's all I need." He kissed her forehead, just that, a simple press of lips against skin that felt more intimate than anything Imani had experienced in years. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me, for making me feel less alone, for letting me into your life even though I'm keeping secrets about who I am." "You're not keeping secrets. I know who you are. You're Stellan, the guy who makes too sweet hot chocolate and cries during Christmas movies and wants to grant wishes because it makes him happy. That's who you are. The money is just details. The money changes everything. Not for me." Imani leaned her forehead against his. "For me, you're just the guy who responded to my email with kindness. Everything else is just noise." They stayed like that, foreheads touching, breathing the same air while the credits rolled, and Charleston settled into night outside her window. "Can I tell you something?" Stellan asked. "Anything. I'm falling for you, fast and hard and probably too soon. And it terrifies me because I haven't let myself feel anything since Sarah died, and now I'm feeling everything. But Imani, I want this. I want you. I want to keep making terrible cookies and watching Christmas movies and being less lonely together. And I know it's only been 3 days since we met, but—" "I'm falling too," Imani interrupted. "And it's terrifying and too fast and probably a disaster waiting to happen. But I don't care, because for the first time in 4 years, I feel alive. So yeah, let's fall together. Let's be terrified together. Let's make terrible cookies and drink too sweet hot chocolate and figure out what this is. Yeah?" "Yeah." Stellan smiled, that beautiful, genuine smile that transformed his face and pulled her back against his chest. They queued up another movie, settled deeper into the couch, and let the magic of Christmas in Charleston wrap around them like a promise. Outside, the city sparkled with lights. Inside, 2 lonely people found warmth in each other. And somewhere, maybe, Ruth Sutton looked down at her daughter and smiled. Magic was real, after all. It just looked like terrible cookies and too sweet hot chocolate and a billionaire who wanted to grant wishes for a woman who'd accidentally sent him her heart. 5 days after their first movie night, Thanksgiving Day, Imani stood in her tiny kitchen at 8 a.m., staring at the turkey she couldn't afford that had mysteriously appeared on her doorstep with a note in Stellan's handwriting. "Every kitchen needs a turkey on Thanksgiving, and someone to dance with while cooking it. I'll be there at noon. S." Her phone buzzed. "Stellan. Fair warning. I've never cooked a turkey in my life. This might be a disaster, but we'll laugh about it, right?" "Imani, we'll laugh or we'll order pizza. Either way, it's perfect." "Stellan, you make everything sound perfect. See you at noon." Imani looked around her apartment. She'd cleaned, put out the nice plates she never used, a wedding gift from her mother before the marriage fell apart, lit candles, made the space feel less like broke non-profit worker and more like home where you'd want to spend a holiday. Not that Stellan cared about any of that. He'd made that clear over the past 5 days. 5 days of texts that made her smile, phone calls that lasted hours, 2 more movie nights where they fell asleep on her couch, tangled together, neither wanting to leave. They hadn't kissed yet. Not really. Forehead kisses, cheek kisses. That moment last night when they'd been watching Elf and his lips had brushed her temple and lingered there for 3 heartbeats. But not a real kiss, like they were both waiting, building, letting the tension grow until it became inevitable. Her buzzer rang at exactly noon. "Your turkey cooking partner has arrived," Stellan's voice crackled through the intercom, also bearing wine and an alarming lack of knowledge about poultry preparation. Imani buzzed him up, opened her door, and felt her breath catch. Stellan Westbrook stood in her hallway wearing jeans, a dark green sweater that made his hazel eyes look almost golden, and a smile that could have powered Charleston's Christmas lights. He held a bottle of wine in one hand and a grocery bag in the other. "Hi," he said. "Hi yourself." Imani stepped aside to let him in. "What's in the bag?" "Supplies. I brought potatoes for mashing, green beans for I don't know boiling, and pie from that bakery on King Street, because I attempted to make one last night and it looked like a crime scene." "You tried to make pie?" "I tried. I failed spectacularly. My kitchen still smells like burnt sugar, but I tried because he set down the wine and groceries, turned to face her fully. Because you deserve homemade everything, and I'm learning that good intentions count, even when the execution is terrible. They do. Imani moved closer. But Stellan, you don't have to try so hard. I already... She stopped, caught herself. You already what? I already like you. A lot. More than I should after 5 days. Good, because I'm completely gone for you and it's terrifying. He cupped her face gently. And I'm going to kiss you now if that's okay. Because I've been thinking about it for 5 days and I can't wait anymore. Yes, please. Yes. Stellan kissed her like she was precious, like she mattered. Soft and slow and achingly sweet. His hands cradled her face, and Imani's fingers gripped his sweater, and for a moment the world narrowed to just this, just them, just the taste of coffee on his lips, and the way he made a small sound when she deepened the kiss. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Stellan rested his forehead against hers. That was... Yeah, Imani agreed. That was... We should probably cook a turkey now. Probably. Neither of them moved. They stood in her tiny kitchen, holding each other, smiling like fools, until the timer she'd set earlier beeped and broke the spell. Turkey, Stellan said reluctantly. Turkey, Imani echoed. They spent the next 4 hours cooking together in a kitchen barely big enough for one person. Stellan looked up turkey preparation on his phone while Imani seasoned. She taught him how to mash potatoes properly. He burned the green beans twice. She laughed so hard she couldn't breathe when he accidentally turned on the garbage disposal instead of the vent fan. And then, while they waited for the turkey to finish, Imani's phone shuffled to an old song. Ella Fitzgerald, Cheek to Cheek. Ma loved this song, Imani said softly, pausing mid-stir of the gravy. We used to dance to it in the kitchen while cooking Sunday dinners. She'd sing along terribly, off-key, and we'd just sway and laugh and... Dance with me, Stellan said, taking the spoon from her hand. What? Item number 5 on your list. To dance in the kitchen while making dinner like Ma and I used to do. He pulled her gently into the small open space between the counter and refrigerator. Dance with me, Imani, let me give you this. Tears pricked her eyes. Stellan, your mum would want you to keep dancing, so dance with me. He pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers, and they swayed in her impossibly small kitchen to Ella Fitzgerald's voice crooning about heaven. Imani rested her head on Stellan's chest, heard his heartbeat strong and steady, and felt something break open inside her. All the grief she'd been carrying for 4 years, all the loneliness, all the fear that she'd never feel whole again. I miss her so much, she whispered. I know, especially at the holidays, especially when I'm cooking and she's not here to tell me I'm using too much salt or that the gravy needs more butter. Tell me about her. What was she like? So Imani did. Told him about Ruth Sutton, fierce and funny and stubborn, about how she'd raised Imani alone after her father died, about how she'd fought cancer with grace even when it was stealing everything, about how her last words had been, "Choose joy, baby. Promise me you'll choose joy." She sounds incredible, Stellan said. She was. She would have liked you. Yeah? Yeah. She always said I should find someone who made me laugh, who saw me as more than strong, who wanted to dance in the kitchen and believe in magic. Imani looked up at him. That's you, Stellan. You're all those things. Your mum was a wise woman. She was. Imani swayed with him, let the music wrap around them like a blessing. Thank you. For this. For remembering what I wanted and making it happen. Always. He kissed the top of her head. I'm here for all of it, Imani. Every wish, every dance, every moment you'll give me. They danced through 2 more songs, in that tiny kitchen that smelled like turkey and butter and home, and Imani felt her mother's presence like a warmth in her chest. Choose joy, baby. This was joy. Dancing with a man who'd read her wish list and decided to grant every single item, who'd showed up on Thanksgiving with a turkey and terrible cooking skills and a willingness to try anyway. This was joy, and Imani was choosing it. 9 days since Thanksgiving. They'd been inseparable. 9 days of Stellan showing up at her apartment after she finished work, of cooking dinner together, of watching Christmas movies. of falling asleep on her couch and waking up tangled together as morning light filtered through her curtains. 9 days of learning each other. How Stellan took his coffee, black, too hot. How Imani read books with the corners folded on pages she loved. How they both reached for each other in their sleep like magnets finding north. 9 days of not talking about the future, not talking about what this was beyond us and this and right now. But December 2nd changed everything. Imani arrived at work to find Bryn bouncing in her cubicle, waving a magazine. "You're not going to believe this," Bryn said, shoving Charleston magazine into Imani's hands. "Page 43, read it." Imani flipped to the article. "Charleston's most eligible bachelors. Where are they now?" And there, third on the list, was Stellan Westbrook. The article was brutal in its detail. His net worth, his penthouse, his private jet, his investments, his yacht that he apparently kept at Charleston Harbor, the charity galas he attended, the exclusive clubs he belonged to, the estimated value of his art collection. A man who could buy anything, the article concluded, but seemingly can't buy companionship. Sources say Westbrook has been seen around Charleston recently, though he remains notoriously private about his personal life. Perhaps this year, Charleston's wealthiest bachelor will finally find someone willing to share his fortune and his heart. Imani's hands shook. "I didn't know about the yacht, or the private jet, or the art collection worth 20 million, the house in Napa, the fact that he donated 5 million to the children's hospital last month." Bryn perched on the desk. "Imani, he's not just rich, he's obscenely, incomprehensibly wealthy, and he's dating you without telling you any of this. He told me he was a billionaire. I knew. Did you know he has a full-time staff? Personal chef, driver, assistant? Did you know he sits on the board of 6 major companies? Did you know Forbes did a feature on him last year calling him the most powerful man under 40 in Charleston? No. He's living in 2 worlds, Imani. His real one with private jets and yachts and more money than God, and the one he's pretending to live in with you, cooking bad turkeys and making burnt cookies. And I'm worried about what happens when those worlds collide. He's not pretending. He wanted me to see him first, before all the money. And now you have, so what are you going to do?" Imani looked at the magazine again, at Stellan's photo from some gala, looking impossibly handsome in a tuxedo, standing next to Charleston's mayor and a tech CEO she recognized from news articles. That was his real life. Galas and yachts and private jets. Not tiny apartments with clanking radiators. Not burnt snickerdoodles and too sweet hot chocolate. Not dancing in cramped kitchens to Ella Fitzgerald. "I don't know," Imani admitted. "I need to think." She didn't text Stellan all day. Couldn't figure out what to say. "Hey, saw your magazine feature. Nice yacht. Why didn't you mention you're literally one of the most powerful men in Charleston?" Her phone buzzed repeatedly. "Stellan, good morning, beautiful. Thinking about you." "Stellan, lunch. There's a new place on King I want to try." "Stellan, Imani, everything okay?" "Stellan, did I do something wrong? Please talk to me." At 5 p.m., he showed up at the Charleston Youth Foundation office. Bryn saw him first, eyes going wide. Imani? Your billionaire is here." Stellan stood in the lobby, wearing a suit, an actual suit, that probably cost more than Imani made in 3 months, and looking worried. "You weren't answering my texts," he said when she approached. "I got scared. I needed to think." "About what?" Then he saw the magazine in her hand. His expression shifted. "Ah, you saw the article. Charleston's most eligible bachelor. Congratulations." "Imani, you have a yacht." "I do. And a private jet. 2, actually. And a staff. And houses in multiple states. And you sit on 6 company boards. And last month you donated $5 million to the children's hospital." "Yes. And you didn't think to mention any of this while we were dancing in my kitchen or watching Christmas movies on my hand-me-down couch." Stellan's jaw tightened. "I told you I was a billionaire. You said the money was just details. That was before I knew the extent of it. Before I realized you're literally living a double life. One where you pretend to be a normal guy who burns cookies. And one where you're..." She gestured at the magazine. "Where you're this. Powerful. Untouchable. So far out of my league we're not even playing the same sport. That's not fair. Isn't it? Imani's voice cracked. You let me believe we were equals, Stellan. Two lonely people finding comfort in each other, but we're not equals. You could buy my entire life 1,000 times over and not notice the expense. You have a chef, and I can barely afford groceries. You fly private, and I take the bus. You live in a world I don't even understand. The money doesn't matter. It matters. It matters because you hid it from me. You let me fall for you while keeping this huge part of your life secret. And now I'm standing here wondering what else you're hiding, what other parts of your life I don't know about. I wasn't hiding, I was just... Stellan ran a hand through his hair. I wanted you to know me first. Not my bank account, not my possessions, just me. The guy who makes bad cookies and cries during Christmas movies and wants to dance in your kitchen. That's who I am, Imani. The rest is just noise. The rest is your life. No, you're my life now. These past 2 weeks they've been the realest thing I've experienced in 5 years. More real than any board meeting or gala or investment deal. Because when I'm with you, I'm just Stellan. Not Stellan Westbrook, billionaire. Just a guy who's falling in love with a woman who sees him for who he actually is. I can't see who you actually are if you're hiding parts of yourself. I'm not hiding anything that matters. A yacht matters, Stellan. 6 board seats matter. $5 million donations matter. All of it matters because it's who you are. And I can't... Imani's voice broke. I can't be with someone who lives in a world so different from mine that we might as well be on different planets. So what are you saying? I'm saying I need time to process this, to figure out if I can be with someone whose life is so vastly different from mine that I don't even recognize it. How much time? I don't know. Stellan's expression shuttered. Imani watched him put his armor back on. Watched him become Stellan Westbrook, billionaire, instead of just Stellan, the guy she'd been falling in love with. Fine, take your time. His voice was cold now, professional. But Imani, I meant everything I said. Every word, every moment. That wasn't fake, that was real. And if you can't see that, if you can't separate who I am from what I have, then maybe you're right. Maybe we are on different planets. He walked out without looking back. Imani stood in the lobby of the Charleston Youth Foundation, holding a magazine article about the man she'd been falling in love with, and wondered if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. The 5th of December 2024. 3 days of silence. Stellan didn't text, didn't call, didn't show up at her apartment with cookies or movies, or that smile that made her forget why she was supposed to be guarding her heart. He was giving her the space she'd asked for, and Imani hated it. She'd spent 3 days replaying their fight, 3 days of wondering if she'd been unfair, 3 days of missing him so badly it felt like grief. Bryn found her crying in the bathroom on day 3. Okay, talk to me, what happened? I think I broke up with him. You think? I told him I needed space because he didn't tell me about the yachts and the jets and the everything, and he looked at me like I'd stabbed him and walked away. And now I haven't heard from him in 3 days, and I miss him so much I can't breathe. Do you love him? I barely know him. That's not what I asked. Imani looked at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, eyes red from crying, hair a mess, wearing her mother's necklace like armor. Yeah, she admitted, I love him, and it's terrifying because he lives in a world I don't understand, with money and power and things I can't even imagine, and I'm just me, a development coordinator at a non-profit who lives in a walk-up with a clanking radiator. What do I have to offer someone like that? Maybe you offer him what he's been missing. Someone who sees him instead of his bank account. Someone who makes him laugh and dance in the kitchen and believe in magic again. Bryn put a hand on Imani's shoulder. You read me his first email. The one where he said your wish list was the most honest thing he'd read in 5 years. That man isn't looking for yachts and private jets in his personal life. He's looking for honest, for real, for you. So I screwed up. You got scared. There's a difference. But Imani, if you love him, and I think you do, you need to tell him, because 3 days of silence is 3 days too long when you're in love. What if he doesn't want to hear it? What if I hurt him too badly? Then you apologize. You grovel. You show up at his penthouse with burnt cookies and 2 sweet hot chocolate, and you tell him you were wrong. Bryn smiled. That's what people do when they love each other. They screw up, they apologize, they try again. Evening. Imani stood outside Stellan's building, a sleek glass tower on the waterfront, and tried to convince herself this wasn't the worst idea she'd ever had. She'd never been to his penthouse, never seen his real life beyond what existed in her tiny apartment. And now she was here, holding a container of the snickerdoodles he'd made her 3 weeks ago, burnt and perfect, about to throw herself at his mercy. The doorman looked at her skeptically. "Name?" "Imani Clark. I'm here to see Stellan Westbrook." "Is he expecting you?" "No, but please, just tell him I'm here. Tell him I brought cookies. Tell him," her voice cracked, "tell him I'm sorry." The doorman's expression softened. He picked up a phone, spoke quietly, then gestured to the elevator. "Top floor. He'll meet you there." The elevator was all mirrors and chrome. Imani saw her reflection, nervous, hopeful, terrified, and touched her mother's necklace for courage. "Choose joy, baby." The doors opened directly into a penthouse that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Charleston Harbor, modern furniture that looked like art. A kitchen bigger than her entire apartment. Everything chrome and glass and expensive. And there, standing by those impossible windows, was Stellan. He wore jeans and a t-shirt. His hair was messy like he'd been running his hands through it, and the look on his face when he saw her, relief and hurt and hope all tangled together, nearly broke her. "Hi," Imani said. "You came. I brought cookies, the ones you made. Because," she stepped out of the elevator into his world, "because I've been an idiot, and because I missed you, and because I need to apologize for judging you based on magazine articles instead of the man I know. Imani, let me finish, please." She set down the cookies on his ridiculous marble counter. "I got scared when I saw that article, when I realized how different our lives are, when I understood that you have yachts and jets and houses I'll never see and money I can't even comprehend. I got scared because I thought, how could someone like you actually want someone like me? How could this be real when our worlds are so far apart? Our worlds aren't—" "They are, Stellan, you live here." She gestured at the penthouse. "And I live in a third-floor walk-up where the radiator clanks and the walls are thin and the couch is from a thrift store. You fly private. I take the bus. You donate $5 million to hospitals. I calculate whether I can afford both heat and groceries. We're from completely different worlds. So what are you saying? We can't be together because I have money?" "No. I'm saying—" Imani moved closer. "I'm saying I don't care. I got scared and I pulled away and I hurt you. But I don't care about the money or the yachts or any of it. I care about you. The guy who burns cookies and ugly cries during Christmas movies and wanted to grant my wishes because it made you happy. That's who I fell in love with. Not your bank account. Not your penthouse. You." Stellan's expression cracked. "You love me?" "Yeah, I love you. And I'm sorry I let fear make me push you away. I'm sorry I made you feel like the money mattered more than who you are. Because it doesn't. You matter. Us. What we have. That's what matters. Say it again. I love you, Stellan Westbrook. Yachts and all." He closed the distance between them, cupped her face in his hands. "I love you too. So much it terrifies me. And I'm sorry I didn't tell you about everything. I should have been more honest from the beginning. But Imani, I've never had someone love me for just me. Not since Sarah. And I was so desperate to have that again, to be seen for who I am instead of what I have, that I downplayed everything else. I see you, the real you, the one who shows up, who tries, who wants to dance in kitchens and believe in magic." She smiled through tears. "The one who granted every wish on my list except the last one." "What's the last one?" "To believe in magic again. And Stellan, I believe. Because of you. Because you're magic. This," she gestured between them, "this is magic." He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of 3 days of missing each other. Imani wrapped her arms around his neck, felt his hands on her waist, and understood with complete certainty that this was where she belonged. Not in his penthouse or his world of wealth, but in his arms, in his heart, with him. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Stellan rested his forehead against hers. "Move in with me." "What?" "Not here. I hate this place. It's cold and empty, and it's never felt like home. But we could find something together, something that's ours, where we can dance in the kitchen and watch Christmas movies and build a life. Stellan, we've known each other for 3 weeks. I know, it's crazy, but I've wasted 5 years being afraid to live, and I don't want to waste another minute. I want you. I want us. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night and build something real that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with love. I need time to think about that. Okay, but Imani, I'm not going anywhere. However long you need, whatever you need, I'm here. I choose you. Every single day, I choose you. I choose you too. They stood in his glass penthouse overlooking Charleston Harbor, holding each other, and Imani felt her mother's presence like a whisper. Choose joy, baby. Promise me you'll choose joy. She'd kept her promise. This was joy. Loving Stellan Westbrook, billionaire, terrible baker, Christmas movie enthusiast, and the man who'd read her wish list and decided to grant every single item. This was joy, and Imani was never letting it go. Family, if you watch this story up to this point, it means it moved you. Leave your thoughts and tell me where you are watching from in the comment, and make sure to like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Smash the hype button now if you found value in this content. It really helps my channel. The morning after reconciliation, Imani woke up in Stellan's bed, his actual bed in his chrome and glass penthouse, with morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, and his arm wrapped around her waist like he was afraid she'd disappear. You stayed, he murmured against her neck, voice rough with sleep. I stayed. She turned to face him, traced the line of his jaw. Did you think I wouldn't? I worried. After 3 days of silence, I worried about everything. Stellan pulled her closer. But you're here, and I love you, and I'm never letting you go. Never is a long time. Not long enough. He kissed her softly. I have something to ask you, and you can say no. Absolutely say no if you're not comfortable, but... What? There's a charity gala. December 10th. The annual Christmas benefit for the Children's Hospital. It's... He paused. It's my world. Tuxedos and evening gowns and people with more money than sense making donations to feel good about themselves. And I have to go because I'm on the board, and they're announcing the new wing I funded. But Imani, I want you there, with me. As my partner, I want everyone to know that I'm with you. Imani's stomach tightened. A gala. His world. The one she'd just spent 3 days being terrified of. I don't have anything to wear to something like that. We'll get you a dress, whatever you want. Money is not. I know money isn't an issue for you. But Stellan, I've never been to a gala. I don't know how to talk to billionaires and board members, and you talk to them the same way you talk to me, like they're human, which, surprisingly, most of them are. He tucked a curl behind her ear. I know this is scary. I know my world is overwhelming, but you're my world now, and I want to share all of it with you. The good, the bad, the uncomfortable galas where people ask intrusive questions and the champagne is mediocre. You're making it sound so appealing. I'm being honest. It's not always fun, but it's part of my life. And if we're going to do this, really do this, then I need you to see all of it. Not just the burnt cookies and Christmas movies, but the galas and the obligations and the reality of what it means to be with me. Imani looked into his hazel eyes and saw vulnerability there. He wasn't asking her to play dress-up. He was asking her to step fully into his world. To choose him completely, not just the version of him that fit in her tiny apartment. Okay, she said, I'll go. But if I embarrass you, you couldn't embarrass me if you tried. You're the most real person I know. And that's what they need to see, that I'm with someone who matters, someone I love. Not just another society connection or business arrangement. No pressure then. None at all. He grinned. Now, breakfast. I make terrible pancakes. Want to watch me fail at cooking again? Always. The day before the gala. The dress shop was the kind of place Imani had walked past 100 times and never dreamed of entering. No price tags visible. Personal shoppers who looked like they'd stepped out of fashion magazines. Evening gowns that cost more than her monthly rent. This is too much, Imani whispered as the personal shopper, elegant, intimidating, named Margot, brought out the 5th dress. It's perfect, Stellan countered. He'd insisted on coming, sitting on an absurdly comfortable chair while Imani tried on gowns that made her feel like she was playing dress-up in someone else's life. Try it on, please. The dress was stunning. Deep emerald green that would complement her skin tone beautifully. Fitted bodice, flowing skirt, elegant without being ostentatious. the kind of dress that whispered wealth instead of shouting it. Imani tried it on, looked at herself in the mirror, and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked sophisticated, polished, like someone who belonged at a charity gala, instead of someone who took the bus to work at a non-profit. "You're beautiful," Stellan said from behind her, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "You take my breath away. It's just a dress." "It's not the dress. It's you. You'd be beautiful in anything. But Imani," he rested his chin on her shoulder, "you look like you belong. Because you do. With me. Anywhere. Everywhere. I'm terrified. I know. But I'll be right there with you. Every moment. I won't leave your side." Margot appeared with shoes, delicate heels that matched the dress perfectly, and jewelry that Imani was afraid to touch. "We'll take everything," Stellan said. "Stellan, you can't just—" "I can. And I am. You're going to walk into that gala looking like the queen you are. And everyone is going to see what I already know, that you're the most incredible woman in Charleston. You're biased. Completely. And I don't care." They left the shop with bags and boxes and a dress that made Imani feel like Cinderella. Except Cinderella got to leave at midnight. Imani was walking into this knowing there was no escape. This was real. This was Stellan's world. And tomorrow night, she'd have to prove she could exist in it. Evening. The Charleston Children's Hospital Christmas Benefit Gala. The venue was the historic Charleston Ballroom, chandeliers dripping crystal, orchestra playing, champagne flowing. Women in designer gowns worth more than Imani made in a year. Men in custom tuxedos discussing mergers and acquisitions between sips of wine that probably cost hundreds per bottle. And there, in the middle of it all, was Imani Clark, 33 years old, development coordinator at a non-profit, wearing a dress that cost more than her rent, on the arm of Stellan Westbrook, billionaire. "You're doing great," Stellan murmured as they entered. His hand rested on the small of her back, steady, grounding. "Just breathe. Everyone's staring. They're staring because you're stunning, and because I've never brought anyone to one of these before. They're curious. Let them be." But it wasn't just curiosity Imani felt in their gazes. It was assessment, judgment. Who was she? Where did she come from? Was she good enough for Stellan Westbrook? "Stellan," a couple approached, older, wealthy, dripping in diamonds and entitlement. "We didn't expect to see you here with a date. And who is this lovely young woman?" "This is Imani Clark, my girlfriend. Imani, this is Richard and Margaret Pemberton. Richard sits on the board with me." "Pleasure," Margaret said, but her eyes raked over Imani like she was calculating her worth down to the penny. "And what do you do, dear?" "I work for the Charleston Youth Foundation, development coordinator." "Oh, how nice. A non-profit." Margaret's smile was thin. "So you work with children?" "I work on funding literacy programs for underserved youth." "How charitable." The word dripped with condescension. "Stellan, you always did have a soft spot for causes." The implication was clear. Imani was a cause, a charity case, not a partner. Stellan's hand tightened on her back. "Imani's work is important. She makes a real difference in kids' lives. Unlike most people in this room who just write checks to feel better about themselves." "Well," Margaret's expression frosted. "Come, Richard. I see the Ashfords. Excuse us." They walked away, and Imani felt her chest tighten. "I'm sorry," Stellan said. "Margaret's always been awful. Ignore her. She thinks I'm your charity project." "She's wrong." "Is she?" Imani looked around at the ballroom full of people who belonged here in ways she never would. "Stellan, everyone here knows I don't fit. They can tell I'm not from your world, that I'm just the woman I love. That's all that matters." But it didn't feel like enough. Not when 3 more couples approached with similar questions. Not when Imani overheard someone whispering, "Gold digger," behind her back. Not when photographers started taking pictures and Imani realized this would be public. Her face, her name, connected to Stellan Westbrook forever. "I need air," she said suddenly. "Imani, please, just I need a minute." She found a balcony, stumbled outside into December cold, and tried to breathe through the panic clawing at her throat. This was his life, galas and judgment and people who looked at her and saw dollar signs or charity cases. This was what choosing Stellan meant. Not just love and Christmas movies and dancing in kitchens, but this. Always this. living under a microscope, being assessed and found wanting, never quite enough. There you are, a woman's voice. Imani turned to find someone around her age, beautiful in an understated way, wearing a simple black gown. You're Stellan's girlfriend, right? Imani? Yeah. And you are? Victoria Ashford. I'm well. I was engaged to Stellan's best friend about 5 years ago, before he met you. She leaned against the balcony railing. I know that look. The what am I doing here look. The I don't belong look. I've been there. How do you handle it? Honestly, some days I don't. Some days I want to run screaming back to my normal life where people don't judge you based on your dress label or your last name. Victoria smiled sadly. But then I remember why I'm here. Because I love someone who happens to have money, and that's not his fault, and it's not my fault for falling for him. It just is. Does it get easier? Sometimes. And sometimes you overhear someone calling you a gold digger and you want to throw your champagne in their face. But then your person, the one you love, finds you and reminds you why you're doing this. Why it's worth it. What if it's not worth it? What if I can't do this? Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then you leave. Because staying when you're miserable isn't fair to either of you. But Imani, I've known Stellan for years, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you, like you're his entire world. So before you decide it's not worth it, make sure you're not running because you're scared. Because scared is different than wrong. She walked back inside, leaving Imani alone with the Charleston night and her racing thoughts. Scared. She was scared, terrified, actually. But was that reason enough to walk away from the man she loved? Imani. Stellan appeared in the doorway, jacket off, bow tie undone. I've been looking everywhere. Are you okay? No. What happened? What did someone say? It doesn't matter what they said. What matters is that they're right, Stellan. I don't belong here. I don't know how to navigate your world. I don't know how to talk to people who think I'm only with you for your money. I don't know how to smile through photographers taking pictures that will end up in magazines where more people can judge whether I'm good enough for you. You're more than good enough. Am I? Because right now I feel like I'm drowning, like I'm playing a part I'm not qualified for, like I'm one wrong word away from embarrassing you in front of everyone who matters in your life. The only person who matters is you. That's not true and you know it. You have obligations, business, relationships, a reputation, and Her voice cracked. I'm just a girl who sent you an accidental email and doesn't know how to be the partner a man like you needs. A man like me? What does that mean? A billionaire. Someone powerful. Someone who moves in circles I can't even imagine. You need someone who knows how to handle this world, who won't freeze up when people ask questions, who won't panic when photographers appear, who belongs here in ways I never will. I need you. That's all. What if that's not enough? Imani's eyes filled with tears. What if I can't be the person you need me to be? What if I love you but I can't do this, can't be part of galas and society and living under constant scrutiny? Then we figure it out. We find a way that works for both of us. How? Your life is this, Stellan. Boards and galas and obligations. You can't just stop being who you are. And I can't pretend to be comfortable in a world that makes me feel like I can't breathe. So what are you saying? Imani looked at him, at the man she loved who was asking her to choose between being with him and being comfortable, between love and peace, between him and herself. I'm saying maybe we were wrong. Maybe we fell too fast. Maybe your email response was the universe giving us a beautiful moment, but not a forever. Because Stellan, I love you. God, I love you so much. But I don't know if I can live in your world. And you can't live in mine. So where does that leave us? Together. It leaves us together. We figure it out. How many more galas? How many more events where people look at me like I'm not enough? How many more photographers and magazine articles and judgments about whether I'm worthy of you? As many as it takes until you believe you're worthy, which you are. Imani, you're everything. I'm everything in my apartment watching Christmas movies. But here, in this world, I'm nothing. I'm the woman who doesn't belong. And I don't know if I'm strong enough to keep fighting to prove I do. You don't have to prove anything. Yes, I do. To you, to them, to myself. And I don't know if I can. Imani wiped tears from her face, smearing makeup she'd spent an hour applying. I think I need to go home. I'll take you. No, Stay, this is your event, your announcement, your world, and she couldn't finish, couldn't say the words that would break both their hearts. Imani, please, don't do this. Don't run because you're scared. I'm not running. I'm being realistic about what your life looks like, about whether I can be part of it, about whether loving you is enough when your world feels like it's suffocating me. My world isn't me. I'm not these people. I'm not the galas or the money or the judgment. I'm just Stellan, the guy who makes terrible cookies and cries during Christmas movies, the guy who loves you more than anything. Can't that be enough? I don't know, Imani's voice broke completely. I don't know anything anymore except that I can't breathe in there and I need to leave. She walked past him, through the ballroom where people turned to stare at the woman fleeing in tears, out into the Charleston night where photographers caught her crying face in their flashes. Tomorrow, those photos would be everywhere. Stellan Westbrook's mystery girlfriend flees gala in tears. More judgment, more scrutiny, more proof that she didn't belong. Imani called an Uber, couldn't even afford a car service like everyone else, and cried the entire ride back to her tiny apartment where the radiator clanked and the walls were thin and everything was familiar and safe. Her phone buzzed repeatedly. Stellan, please talk to me. Stellan, I'm coming over. We need to talk about this. Stellan, I love you. Whatever you're feeling, we can work through it. Stellan, Imani, please. She turned off her phone, changed out of the beautiful dress that she'd never wear again, and cried herself to sleep on her thrift store couch. The morning after, everything fell apart. Imani woke to pounding on her door. Imani, open up. I know you're in there. Pierce Matthews, Stellan's best friend and lawyer, the one person she'd hoped wouldn't show up. She opened the door. Pierce looked exhausted, angry, worried. You broke him, Pierce said without preamble. Stellan spent last night in his office drinking whiskey and staring at his phone, waiting for you to text back. So I'm here to ask what the hell happened. I couldn't do it. The gala, his world, being judged by everyone who thinks I'm not good enough for him. So you ran. I panicked. You broke his heart. Pierce's expression softened slightly. Look, I get it. His world is overwhelming. But Imani, that man loves you. He's happier with you than he's been in 5 years. Since Sarah died, he's been going through the motions. And then you showed up with your accidental email and your honest wish list, and you made him feel alive again. And now you're walking away because some society people were mean to you. It's not just about them being mean. Then what's it about? Because from where I'm standing, you're running scared. And I understand scared, but scared is fixable. Scared means you care enough to be terrified of losing it. But walking away? That's permanent. What if I can't be the person he needs? What if you already are? What if you're so busy worrying about not being enough that you can't see that you're everything to him? Pierce sat on her couch uninvited. I'm going to tell you something. When Sarah died, Stellan shut down, completely. He built walls so high nobody could reach him. He went through the motions of living, but he wasn't actually alive. And I watched my best friend disappear into grief and money and emptiness, and I couldn't do anything about it. Pierce. And then you sent him that email, and I watched him come back to life, watched him laugh again, watched him hope again, watched him become the person he used to be before tragedy took everything. You did that, Imani, not his money, not his world. You, just you being honest and real and brave enough to write down what you wanted. I'm not brave. I ran away from a gala. You're terrified, not weak. There's a difference. But here's what you need to decide. Is your fear bigger than your love? Because if it is, then yeah, walk away. Let him go. Let him sink back into that empty life where he exists but doesn't live. But if your love is bigger than your fear, then you fight. You figure out how to exist in his world while staying true to yourself. You let him help you navigate it. You trust that he loves you enough to make it work. Imani's eyes filled with tears. What if I can't do both? What if being with him means losing myself? Then you tell him that. You set boundaries. You say, I love you, but I can't do monthly galas, or I need my own space, or whatever you need. But you don't just run. You don't make that decision for both of you without giving him a chance to compromise. He asked me to move in with him. And I said I needed time to think. So think. But think about whether you want a future with him. not whether you're worthy of one. Because Imani, you are worthy. You're more than worthy. You're the woman who made my best friend believe in magic again. And that's worth more than any yacht or private jet or society connection. Pierce stood, headed for the door. He's at his office, top floor of the Westbrook building on Meeting Street. If you want to fix this, that's where he'll be. And if you don't, if you really want to walk away, then at least have the courage to tell him to his face instead of just disappearing. He left, and Imani sat in her tiny apartment, holding her mother's necklace, and tried to figure out what she wanted. She loved Stellan. That wasn't the question. The question was whether love was enough when their worlds were so vastly different, when being with him meant stepping into a life that terrified her, when choosing him might mean losing parts of herself. Choose joy, baby. Promise me you'll choose joy. Ma's last words. But what if joy came with a price Imani couldn't pay? What if choosing him meant choosing constant judgment and scrutiny and feeling like she'd never quite measure up? Her phone turned back on, buzzed. Stellan, I'm not giving up on us. I don't care how long it takes. I love you. I choose you. And I'll wait however long you need to choose me back. Imani read the text through tears. He was waiting, hoping, believing they could work. But could they? Could love really conquer the vast chasm between her world and his? Could she really be happy in a life that felt like performing? Could she survive being Stellan Westbrook's girlfriend, instead of just Imani? She didn't have answers, just questions, and fear, and love, and the terrible knowledge that sometimes love wasn't enough. Sometimes, no matter how much you loved someone, the worlds you came from were too different to bridge. And sometimes, the kindest thing you could do was let go, even if it destroyed you both. Afternoon. 2 hours after Pierce left, Imani sat on her thrift store couch, holding her mother's silver necklace, and made a choice. She could run, could let fear win, could protect herself by walking away from the man she loved before he could hurt her more than she'd already been hurt. Or she could fight. Choose joy, baby. Promise me you'll choose joy. Ma hadn't said, choose safety or choose comfort or choose what's easy. She'd said, choose joy. And Stellan, despite his world that terrified her, despite the galas and the judgment and the vast chasm between their lives, Stellan was joy. He was burnt cookies and too sweet hot chocolate. He was dancing in her kitchen to Ella Fitzgerald. He was forehead kisses and ugly crying during Christmas movies. He was the man who'd read her wish list and decided every single item mattered. He was worth fighting for. Imani stood up, grabbed her coat, and headed for the Westbrook building on Meeting Street. The Westbrook building was all glass and steel and modern architecture that screamed money. The lobby had marble floors and a receptionist who looked at Imani's jeans and sweater like she'd walked in off the street, asking for spare change. I'm here to see Stellan Westbrook, Imani said, chin up. Do you have an appointment? No, but tell him Imani Clark is here. He'll see me. The receptionist made a call, spoke quietly, then gestured to the elevator. Top floor, he's expecting you. The elevator ride felt like forever. Imani's heart hammered. Her palms were sweating. She had no idea what she was going to say beyond, I'm sorry, and I love you, and I want to fight for us. The doors opened into an office that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Charleston, modern furniture, art on the walls that she recognized from museums. And there, standing by those impossible windows, was Stellan. He looked exhausted, tie loose, hair messy, eyes red like he'd been crying or hadn't slept. But when he saw her, his entire face transformed. Imani. Hi. She stepped out of the elevator. Pierce came by this morning. I know, he told me. Stellan didn't move closer like he was afraid she'd bolt. I didn't ask him to. He took it upon himself to. He was right. About everything. About me running scared. About me not giving you a chance to compromise. About me making decisions for both of us instead of talking to you. Imani moved toward him. I'm sorry, Stellan, for leaving the gala, for turning off my phone, for making you spend the night drinking whiskey in your office, wondering if I was done with us. Are you? Done with us? No. God, no. I'm terrified and overwhelmed and completely out of my depth in your world. But I'm not done. I don't want to be done. Because you're... Her voice cracked. You're everything, and I love you. and I want to fight for this, for us. If you'll let me. If I'll let you." Stellan closed the distance between them, cupped her face in his hands. "Imani, I've been waiting for you, hoping you'd come back, praying you'd realize that we're worth fighting for. So yes, I'll let you fight, and I'll fight right beside you. I need you to understand something first." Imani took a breath. "I can't do monthly galas. I can't live under constant scrutiny. I can't pretend to be comfortable in a world that makes me feel like I'm suffocating. I love you, but I need boundaries. I need to be able to say no. I'm not attending that event without feeling like I'm letting you down." "Okay. Okay? Okay. Set your boundaries. Tell me what you need. I'll work with it. Imani, I don't need you at every gala or board meeting or society function. I need you at my side when it matters. And most of those things, they don't matter. What matters is you, us, building a life that works for both of us." "You mean that?" "I've been to 100 galas. They're all the same. Boring. Obligatory. People I don't care about making small talk I don't want to have. But you're real. You're honest. You're everything I've been missing. So if choosing you means skipping some galas, I'll skip them. If it means telling society to shove their judgments, I'll do it. Whatever it takes to keep you in my life." Imani felt tears slide down her face. "I want to be braver. Want to be the person who can handle your world without falling apart. But I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be. Then we'll figure it out together. We'll find compromises. We'll set boundaries. We'll build something that's ours, not my world or your world, but our world, where we're comfortable and happy and don't have to pretend to be anything we're not." "What about last night? The photos, the articles that are probably already written about me fleeing in tears? Let them write. Let them judge. I don't care what they think. I care what you think, what you feel, whether you're happy." Stellan wiped her tears with his thumbs. "And Imani, if those people make you unhappy, we'll find new people, better people, the kind who don't judge you for working at a non-profit or call you a gold digger behind your back." Victoria Ashford found me on the balcony, told me about being in a similar position, about some days wanting to run screaming. Victoria's good people. She married Pierce's brother 3 years ago. They're happy. It took work. She struggled with his world too, but they figured it out, and we will too. How can you be so sure? Because I love you, and you love me. And that's not nothing, Imani. That's everything. Love doesn't solve every problem, but it's a damn good place to start." She kissed him then, soft and desperate and full of relief. He pulled her close, and she melted into him, and for the first time since the gala, she felt like she could breathe. "I'm still scared," she whispered against his lips. "Me too, but let's be scared together." 4 days later, they spent 4 days learning how to be together in a way that worked for both of them. 4 days of honest conversations about boundaries and expectations and what they each needed. Stellan promised no more than 2 major events per year where Imani's presence was required. Everything else was optional. No pressure, no guilt. Imani promised to try, to not run when things got hard, to talk instead of disappearing, to trust that he loved her for her, not for how well she fit into his world. They met in the middle, his penthouse and her apartment, fancy restaurants and takeout on her couch, his world and hers, blending into something new. And on December 15, Stellan showed up at the Charleston Youth Foundation office with lunch and a proposal. "I have an idea," he said, sitting across from Imani at her tiny desk, while Bryn not so subtly eavesdropped from the next cubicle. "About the moving in thing. You want to talk about this here, now?" "I want to talk about it while it's on my mind. But we can wait if—" "No, tell me." Imani set down her sandwich. "What's your idea?" "We don't move into my penthouse. I hate it anyway. And we don't move into your apartment because it's too small for 2 people. We find something new. Something that's ours from the start. Not too big, not too small. Somewhere that feels like home for both of us. With a kitchen big enough to dance in and a couch comfortable enough to watch Christmas movies on and no clanking radiators." "Stellan, let me finish. I know you're worried about money, about me paying for everything, about feeling like you're not contributing. So here's what I'm thinking. I buy the place, but you decorate it. You choose the furniture and the colors and the style. You make it feel like home, and that's your contribution, not money, but the things money can't buy. The warmth and the personality and the life that makes a house into something worth living in. Imani's throat tightened. You've really thought about this? I've thought about nothing else for 4 days. About how to build a life with you that doesn't make you feel less than or overwhelmed. Where we're partners. Where we're equals in the ways that actually matter. We're not equals financially. No. But we're equals in love, in commitment, in choosing each other every day. And Imani, I don't care about financial equality. I care about emotional equality. About both of us feeling seen and heard and valued. And if living somewhere that's ours, truly ours, helps you feel that, then I want it. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. But Imani, I meant what I said. I choose you, every single day. And I want to build a life with you, a real life. Not my life that you're trying to fit into, but our life that we create together. Bryn's voice floated over the cubicle wall. If you don't say yes to that man, I will. Imani laughed, really laughed, and felt something settle in her chest. Okay. Okay, you'll think about it. Okay, let's do it. Let's find a place that's ours. Let's build something together. Stellan's smile could have lit Charleston for a week. Yeah? Yeah, but I have conditions. Name them. No penthouses, no glass towers, nothing that screams, "Billionaire lives here." I want something warm, real, with character and a yard and neighbors who aren't tech CEOs. Done. And a kitchen we can dance in. Essential. And Stellan? Imani reached across her desk, took his hand. Thank you. For compromising, for meeting me in the middle, for not making me choose between you and my comfort. You never have to choose. We figure out how to have both. 5 days later, they found the house on December 18. A historic Charleston single, 3 stories, wraparound porch, in a quiet neighborhood south of Broad. Not too big, not too small. With a kitchen that had original hardwood floors, perfect for dancing, and a backyard with an oak tree that had probably been standing since before they were born. It needed work. The kitchen appliances were ancient. The bathroom tiles were from the 1982. The paint was peeling in places. It was perfect. Are you sure? Imani asked for the 10th time as they stood in the empty living room on December 20, 2 days after Stellan had made an offer the sellers couldn't refuse. This is a huge commitment. We've only been together a month. 5 weeks, and I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Stellan pulled her into his arms. This is ours, Imani. Our home, our fresh start, our place to build something real. When can we move in? Closing is January 10th, but we could start decorating now if you want. Start making it feel like home. In the middle of the holidays? Especially during the holidays. We can put up a tree, hang lights, make it magical. He kissed her temple. And speaking of holidays, what are you doing for Christmas? I was planning to work. The foundation stays open for kids who don't have anywhere else to go on the holidays. I usually volunteer. Can I volunteer with you? Imani pulled back to look at him. You want to spend Christmas Day at a non-profit with at-risk youth instead of, I don't know, on your yacht or at some fancy resort? I want to spend Christmas with you, doing something that matters, something real, making a difference instead of just writing checks. Stellan smiled. Plus, I'm pretty good with kids, or I was, before I got rich and forgot how to be a normal person. You're not normal, you're extraordinary. I'm ordinary in all the ways that count, and I want to spend Christmas being ordinary with you, if you'll have me. Always. Imani kissed him, soft and sweet. I'll always have you. They stood in their empty house, their home, and planned their first Christmas together, not in a penthouse or at a gala, but at a non-profit, helping kids who needed to know someone cared. It was perfect. It was real. It was exactly what they both needed. 2 days before Christmas Eve. Imani woke up in Stellan's bed. They'd been alternating between his penthouse and her apartment, while waiting for their house to find him already awake, watching her. That's creepy, she mumbled. You're beautiful when you sleep. I can't help it. Still creepy. But she smiled, moved closer. What time is it? 7. We have about an hour before you need to get ready for work. An hour. Whatever shall we do with all that time? I have an idea. Stellan kissed her, slow and thorough. But first, I need to ask you something. Asking questions at 7 a.m. should be illegal. It's important. He pulled back slightly, suddenly serious. Are you happy with us? With how things are going? Where is this coming from? Stellan ran a hand through his hair. 3 weeks ago you fled a gala in tears because my world overwhelmed you, and I need to know that what we're building now is different. That you're not just trying to make it work because you love me. That you're actually happy. Imani sat up, took his face in her hands. I'm happy, Stellan. Genuinely happy. The happiest I've been since before Ma died. Because we're building something that's ours. Not your world, not mine, ours. And that makes all the difference. You'd tell me if that changed? If you started feeling overwhelmed again? I'd tell you. I promise. No more running. No more turning off my phone. If I'm struggling, I'll say so. And we'll figure it out together. Together. Always together. They spent the next hour wrapped up in each other, in their love that had survived doubt and fear and two very different worlds colliding. And when Imani finally got up to get ready for work, she caught her reflection in the mirror. She was wearing her mother's necklace. She was smiling. She looked happy. Choose joy, baby. She'd chosen joy, and joy looked like Stellan Westbrook, 36 years old, billionaire, terrible baker, and the man who'd read her wish list and made every single item come true. Not because he could afford to, but because he loved her enough to try. The 22nd of December 2024. Evening. Bryn cornered Imani in the break room at 4 p.m., eyes sparkling with barely contained excitement. Okay, I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to wait until you told me. But I can't. I physically cannot keep this in anymore. What are you talking about? Stellan came by while you were in your meeting with the board. He had questions, very specific questions about you, about what you like, about your favorite flowers and your favorite songs and whether you prefer gold or silver. Imani's heart stuttered. He what? Girl, he's planning something. Something big. And if my romantic comedy expertise serves me correctly, which it always does, I'm pretty sure Stellan Westbrook is about to propose to the woman he's been dating for 5 weeks. That's insane. We've only been together 5 weeks. I know. You keep saying that. But Imani, that man looks at you like you hung the moon and the stars and invented Christmas, and I'm pretty sure he's going to ask you to marry him. Probably on Christmas, or New Year's, one of those romantic holiday moments that makes everyone else feel inadequate. Bryn, you're jumping to conclusions. Am I? Because he specifically asked me about your ring size, and what kind of proposals you find romantic, and whether you'd prefer public or private. Those are not casual getting to know my girlfriend's friend questions. Those are I'm buying a ring questions. Imani's hands shook. Marriage. Stellan wanted to marry her. After 5 weeks. After one major fight. After barely knowing each other. It was crazy, impulsive, completely insane. And she wanted it. God help her, she wanted it. What did you tell him? Imani asked quietly. I told him you're a romantic who'd die for a private proposal, that you prefer silver to gold, that your favorite flowers are peonies but they're out of season so roses would do, that you cry during romantic movies and you'd probably cry during a proposal too, and that if he loves you, which he clearly does, you'd say yes even if he proposed at a gas station at 3 in the morning. Bryn, don't Bryn me. You love him. He loves you. You're already buying a house together. Might as well make it official. We've only been together 5 weeks. So, my parents got engaged after 3 weeks and they've been married 40 years. When you know, you know. And Imani, you know. I can see it all over your face. She did know. That was the terrifying part. She knew Stellan was it for her. The one. The person she wanted to build a life with. The man who'd read her wish list and decided every single item was worth granting. She knew. And if he asked, she'd say yes. Even though it was crazy. Even though they'd only been together 5 weeks. Even though his world still scared her sometimes, and they were still figuring out how to blend their lives. She'd say yes, because love didn't wait for perfect timing. Love happened when it happened, and sometimes the universe gave you an accidental email that changed everything. Sometimes magic was real, and sometimes it looked like a billionaire asking questions about ring sizes and favorite flowers. Sometimes joy chose you back. Morning. The day before Christmas Eve. Imani's phone rang at 8 a.m. Stellan. Good morning, beautiful. Good morning yourself. What are you doing up so early? Couldn't sleep. Too excited about tomorrow. Christmas Eve at the foundation. Helping kids. Being with you. He paused. And I have a question. What are you doing tonight? Nothing. Why? Because I want to take you somewhere. Just us. Something special before the craziness of the holidays hits. Will you come? Where? It's a surprise, but wear something warm. And Imani, trust me. I do trust you. Good. I'll pick you up at 7. He hung up, leaving Imani with a racing heart and the certainty that something significant was about to happen. Bryn's words echoed in her mind. I'm pretty sure Stellan Westbrook is about to propose. Tonight. He was going to propose tonight. She could feel it. And when he did, she was going to say yes. Because Stellan Westbrook, 36 years old, billionaire, terrible baker, and the man who'd made her believe in magic again was worth saying yes to. Every single time. Stellan picked Imani up exactly on time, looking nervous in a way that made her heart race. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal coat, and his hands shook slightly when he helped her into his car. You're nervous, she observed. Terrified. Of what? Of screwing this up. He pulled away from her apartment building, heading south. Of not getting this right. He stopped. You'll see. They drove through Charleston in comfortable silence, Christmas lights twinkling on every street, families walking to church services, kids pointing at decorations, the city wrapped in holiday magic. And then Stellan turned onto a familiar street, south of Broad, the quiet neighborhood where their house Saturday. Stellan, I wanted to show you something. He parked in front of the historic Charleston single, their house, their future, and came around to open her door. Trust me? Always. He led her up the walkway, and Imani gasped. The wraparound porch was strung with white lights, hundreds of them, thousands maybe, twinkling like stars brought down to earth. The oak tree in the backyard glowed with more lights, visible through the winter bare branches. And through the windows of a house they didn't technically own yet, she could see candles. Dozens of candles casting warm light into the empty rooms. How did you? The sellers gave me permission, said they understood romantic gestures. Stellan unlocked the front door, held it open. After you. Imani stepped inside their house, truly stepped inside for the first time since they'd made the offer, and her breath caught. The empty living room was filled with roses, white roses and red roses and pink roses, arranged in vases throughout the space, candles on every surface. And in the middle of the hardwood floor, a blanket spread out with pillows and champagne, and what looked like burnt cookies on a plate. You made more terrible cookies, she whispered. Snickerdoodles, because you said they were your favorite, and because I wanted tonight to be about us. Not fancy or expensive or impressive, just us. Real, honest, the way we started. Stellan, let me say this before I lose my nerve. He took both her hands, and she felt them trembling. 5 weeks ago, you accidentally sent me an email that changed my life. You showed me your heart in 7 simple wishes. And Imani, I've spent every day since trying to grant those wishes. Not because I'm rich, not because I can afford to, but because you made me remember what it feels like to want something beyond money and success and comfort. You made me remember what it feels like to be alive. Tears already pricked Imani's eyes. You wished for someone to watch Christmas movies with while drinking hot chocolate that's too sweet. And we did that. On your couch, in your tiny apartment, in the most perfect night I've had in 5 years. You wished to not worry about bills for 1 month, and I gave you 6 months because you deserved to breathe. You deserved to not wake up at 3 in the morning calculating whether you could afford heat and groceries. You wished to laugh, really laugh, the kind where your stomach hurts and you can't breathe. And Imani, you've made me laugh more in 5 weeks than I have in 5 years. You've made me feel joy I thought I'd lost forever. You wished to dance in the kitchen like you and your mum used to do, and on Thanksgiving we danced to Ella Fitzgerald in your impossibly small kitchen. And you told me about your ma, about choosing joy, about the magic she believed in. You wished for someone to look at you and see you, not the strong woman who has it together, not the girl who survived losing her mother and a divorce, just you. And Imani, I see you. I see your strength and your vulnerability, your hope and your fear, your magic and your humanity. I see all of you, and I love all of you. You wish to feel less alone during the holidays, and baby, you're not alone anymore. You have me. You have us. You have a future where you'll never spend another Christmas feeling like you're walking through broken glass. And you wish to believe in magic again. Stellan's voice cracked. And that's what you've given me. You've shown me that magic is real, that it looks like accidental emails and burnt cookies and too sweet hot chocolate, that it looks like two lonely people finding each other when they weren't even looking, that it looks like love when you're brave enough to choose it. He let go of her hands, and Imani watched through tears as he got down on one knee in their empty house, surrounded by roses and candlelight. Imani Rose Clark, 33 years old and the bravest woman I know. He pulled out a ring box, opened it to reveal a simple silver band with a single diamond that caught the candlelight. Will you marry me? Will you build a life with me in this house where we can dance in the kitchen and watch Christmas movies and choose joy every single day? Will you let me spend the rest of my life trying to grant every wish you'll ever have? Imani couldn't speak, could barely breathe, could only feel the weight of this moment, this man on his knee in their future home, asking her to choose forever. Yes, she managed. Yes, yes, yes. 1,000 times, yes. Stellan's hands shook as he slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, like it was always meant to be there. Like they were always meant to find each other through an accidental email and 7 impossible wishes. He stood, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her like she was oxygen, and he'd been drowning. Imani kissed him back, tasting salt from both their tears, feeling his heart hammering against hers. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I love you so much it scares me, but I'm choosing you anyway. Every single day I'm choosing you. I love you too. More than I thought I could love anything again. You brought me back to life, Imani. You made me believe in second chances and magic and joy. You made me remember who I was before grief and money and loneliness turned me into someone I didn't recognize. They sank onto the blanket surrounded by roses and candlelight, and Stellan opened the champagne with shaking hands. They toasted with plastic cups because of course he'd forgotten real glasses, and ate terrible burnt snickerdoodles and laughed until their stomachs hurt. When did you know? Imani asked, lying in his arms on the floor of their empty house. When did you know you wanted to marry me? Thanksgiving. When we danced in your kitchen and you told me about your mom. When you looked at me like I was magic instead of money. When you chose to trust me with your grief and your joy and everything in between. Stellan kissed her forehead. What about you? The moment you emailed me back. When you responded to my accidental wish list with kindness instead of mockery. When you saw my vulnerability and met it with your own. She looked at the ring on her finger, simple, perfect, exactly right. I didn't know it then, but my heart knew that you were it for me. We're crazy. 5 weeks. People are going to say we're rushing. Let them say it. I don't care. Imani turned to face him fully. Stellan, I spent 2 years married to someone I thought I loved, and I never felt with him what I feel with you in 5 weeks. Time doesn't measure love, connection does, and we have more connection in 5 weeks than most people have in a lifetime. We're getting married. We're getting married. They said it like a promise, like a vow, like the beginning of everything they were building together. Christmas Day. The Charleston Youth Foundation was crowded with kids who had nowhere else to go on Christmas. Foster kids, kids from broken homes, kids who needed to know someone cared that they existed. Imani and Stellan arrived at 8 a.m., ready to spend the day making Christmas special for children who'd gotten used to disappointment. You sure about this? Imani asked, as they unloaded gifts from Stellan's car, gifts he'd bought for every single kid who'd be there today. Nothing flashy, just things they needed. Warm coats, books, art supplies, things that mattered. I've never been more sure of anything. Stellan looked at the building, old, worn, nothing like the glittering galas he usually attended. This is real. This is what Christmas should be about, not champagne and chandeliers, but showing up for people who need someone to show up. They spent the morning helping kids make ornaments. Stellan sat on the floor with a 7-year-old named Marcus who was in foster care and hadn't smiled in weeks. By noon, Marcus was laughing. By afternoon, he'd hugged Stellan and asked if he could come back next week. You're good with them, Imani said, watching Stellan help a teenage girl named Zara pick out books from the donation shelf. They're easy to be good with. They just want someone to see them, to make them feel like they matter. He looked at Imani, at the ring on her finger that she kept touching like she couldn't believe it was real. You taught me that. You showed me what it means to be seen, and now I want to give that to others. Bryn found them at 2 p.m., stopped dead when she saw the ring on Imani's finger. Oh my God, oh my God. He did it. She grabbed Imani's hand, examined the ring. This is beautiful, simple, perfect. When? Last night, at our house. He proposed at our house, surrounded by roses and candles and burnt cookies. That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard. I'm going to cry. Bryn hugged Imani fiercely. I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. You deserve all the magic and joy and terrible cookies in the world. Thank you for everything, for pushing me to be brave, for telling him about ring sizes and favorite flowers, for being my friend when I was too scared to be happy. Always. Bryn looked over at Stellan, who was now reading a Christmas story to a group of kids gathered at his feet. He's one of the good ones, Imani. Hold on to him. I plan to, for the rest of my life. They left the foundation at 6 p.m., exhausted and happy, drove through Charleston as the city settled into Christmas evening, families gathering for dinner, churches filled with candlelight services. The world is wrapped in peace and hope. Best Christmas I've had in years, Stellan said as they headed back to his penthouse their last night there before they'd start the real transition to their new house. Me too. Ma would have loved today. Loved seeing kids smile. Loved watching you sit on the floor reading Christmas stories like a completely normal person instead of a billionaire. I'm a completely normal person. I just happen to have money. You're extraordinary. And I'm the luckiest woman alive. They spent Christmas evening exactly how they wanted to on his couch, watching Love Actually, drinking hot chocolate that was too sweet, eating leftovers from the Foundation's Christmas dinner. No fancy restaurant, no gala, no society obligations, just them, choosing each other, choosing joy. I have something for you, Stellan said during a quiet moment in the movie. He handed her a wrapped box. Merry Christmas. Imani opened it carefully. Inside was a silver bracelet, simple, elegant, with 7 small charms dangling from it. 1 charm for each wish, Stellan explained. A movie reel for Christmas movies, a cup for hot chocolate, a heart for feeling less alone, a music note for dancing in the kitchen, a pair of eyes for being seen, a laugh badly drawn, I admit for laughter, and a star for magic. Stellan, Imani's voice broke completely. This is perfect. You're perfect. And I wanted you to have something to remember, that every wish matters, that you matter, that your heart and your hopes and your dreams are worth everything. I love you. She kissed him softly. Thank you. For seeing my wishes, for granting them, for making me believe in magic again. Always, baby, always. New Year's Eve. They spent New Year's Eve in their house, still empty, still waiting for closing in 10 days, but theirs in all the ways that mattered. Stellan had gotten permission again from the sellers, and they'd brought sleeping bags and champagne and plans for their future. Kitchen goes here, Imani said, lying on the hardwood floor where their kitchen table would eventually be. Big enough for cooking and dancing and terrible burnt cookies. Living room here, Stellan pointed, with a couch comfortable enough to fall asleep on during Christmas movies. Bedroom upstairs, with windows overlooking the oak tree. Office for you, so you can keep working at the foundation, keep making a difference. And a room we can turn into whatever we need. Guest room. Someday maybe... Imani stopped. Maybe what? Maybe a nursery, if we decide. No pressure, just maybe. Stellan pulled her close. Maybe. When we're ready. When it feels right. But Imani, I'd love that. A family with you. Kids who grow up knowing they're loved and seen and that magic is real. They lay on the floor of their future home and dreamed out loud about the life they'd build, the Christmases they'd celebrate, the traditions they'd create, the joy they'd choose every single day. At 11:55 p.m., they moved outside to the wraparound porch. The neighborhood was quiet, peaceful, lights glowing in windows, families waiting for midnight. 5 minutes until next year, Stellan said, pulling Imani into his arms. 5 minutes until we start the rest of our lives. I can't wait. Me neither. He kissed her temple. Thank you. For what? For accidentally sending me that email, for being brave enough to write down what you wanted, for teaching me that money can't buy happiness but love, real, honest, imperfect love, can create it. Thank you for responding, for seeing my wishes and deciding they mattered, for granting them even when you didn't have to, for choosing me. They counted down together as midnight approached. 10, 9, 8. I love you, Imani Clark. Soon to be Imani Westbrook. 7, 6, 5. I love you, Stellan, my terrible baker, my Christmas movie partner, my magic. 4, 3, 2, 1. Fireworks exploded over Charleston Harbor. Church bells rang. The city celebrated the new year with joy and hope and the promise of fresh starts. And on the wraparound porch of their future home, Stellan Westbrook and Imani Clark kissed like the world was beginning. Like everything before this moment had been prologue. Like 2025 was the year their real story started. Happy New Year, my love, Stellan whispered. Happy New Year, Imani echoed. Here's to choosing joy, every single day, for the rest of our lives. To choosing joy. 6 months later, June 2025. The kitchen in their historic Charleston single was exactly what they dreamed it would be. Hardwood floors perfect for dancing, windows overlooking the oak tree, appliances that actually worked, and a table big enough for the family dinners they'd started hosting every Sunday. Imani stood at the stove, stirring marinara sauce while Ella Fitzgerald played from the speaker. She wore her mother's silver necklace and the bracelet Stellan had given her at Christmas. Her engagement ring caught the evening light. The wedding was in 3 weeks, small, intimate, just family and close friends in the backyard under that oak tree. Nothing fancy, nothing society, just them and the people who mattered, celebrating love that had survived fear and doubt and 2 very different worlds colliding. Stellan came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. Smells amazing. You say that about everything I cook. Because everything you cook is amazing. He kissed her neck. Bryn and Pierce are bringing dessert, and apparently Pierce's brother and Victoria are coming too. The more the merrier. Imani turned in his arms. Are you happy? Really happy? Deliriously. Why? Because a year ago, you were alone in a penthouse you hated, going through the motions. And now I'm home, with you, in our house, about to have dinner with friends, about to marry the woman I love, living a life that matters. He kissed her softly. I'm not just happy, Imani. I'm alive. You brought me back to life. You did the same for me. The doorbell rang. Their guests arriving. Their found family gathering in the home they'd built together. As Imani moved to answer the door, she caught her reflection in the hallway mirror, smiling, genuinely happy, wearing her mother's necklace like a blessing. Choose joy, baby. Promise me you'll choose joy. She'd kept her promise, and joy looked like Sunday dinners with friends, like a man who'd read her wish list and decided every item mattered, like a future filled with love and laughter and dancing in kitchens and Christmas movies and burnt cookies. Joy looked like magic, real, imperfect, beautiful magic. And as Stellan came up beside her, squeezing her hand before they opened the door together to welcome their friends, Imani knew with absolute certainty, magic was real after all. It just looked like choosing love when you're terrified, like building something new when the old doesn't fit, like believing that an accidental email could change 2 lives forever. Magic looked like Stellan Westbrook, 36 years old, terrible baker, and the man who'd brought Christmas and everything it meant back into her life. Magic looked like choosing joy, every single day, for the rest of their lives.